Right guys, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today in this video, we're going to be going over 5 extremely horrifying outcomes of being and staying fat. Now, the reason I'm actually making this video before I even go into the points in the first place is because so many of you are something known in business terms as problem unaware, where you don't even know that you have a problem in the first place. Because a lot of people will just see their belly and be like, I don't really like what I look, and that's the only problem you have. But I could mention hundreds of problems you have just from being fat and out of shape. But I'm going to mention 5 of the biggest reasons that I feel will cause you behind the camera to change. Because ultimately, when it comes to making change, the reason you haven't made change is not because you don't know the information behind it, because realistically you can just go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT for a plan on how to lose weight and you will definitely lose weight. But the reason why you're not taking action, the reason why you haven't done that is because there's not enough urgency and you haven't got a compelling enough reason to lose the body fat. But without any further ado, let's go into today's 5 outcomes of being fat.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum. Sorry to cut off the video, and I'll be honest with you, this is an ad, so you can go ahead and skip it if you like. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you've been struggling for the longest time to get into shape. You might see your friends, your family, and your colleagues getting into shape. Meanwhile, you're constantly stuck in the same place. And the problem is you don't have the knowledge. Everyone knows you need to work out and eat better to get into shape. The real problem is you're missing 2 things: structure and accountability. And that's exactly what we help at the Muslim PT. We obviously help with designing a training program and nutrition program and all of that good stuff. But the main thing that we provide you with is the support and the accountability to make you actually stick to it. And we've helped countless Muslims all across the globe to get into the best shape of their life so that they can finally feel good about themselves and not worry about how they look when they take their shirt off in front of their wives. And ultimately, to be a strong believer for the sake of Allah. And now I don't want to drag this video on for too long, and I'll let you get back to the video. But if what I've just mentioned is something that interests you, go to the link in the description and fill out the application form. But just a heads up, we're really picky with who we work with, and we have less than a 7% acceptance rate. But if you fill it out and we feel like you're a good fit for us, either myself or a member of my team will be in touch with you on WhatsApp or through your cell phone to schedule a one-to-one discovery call and go through your exact problems which are stopping you from getting into shape. On the call, if we feel like we can give you the help and support you need to get to your goals, we'll run you through how our different coaching options work. But with that said, back to the episode.
Number 1, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna hate the way that you look. Whether you like it or not, fat people 99% of the time have a lot of insecurities. Like, how many fat people do you know hiding behind designer clothing or hiding behind some type of external validation just to get away from the fact that they're fat? One of the most disgusting and cringy things that I see is people trying to get really expensive suits and in the UAE getting really expensive thobes just to cover up how their body looks. Your body is your wardrobe at the end of the day. Like, you will look crap in the most expensive clothes if your body looks crap. However, you can go to Primark and pick up a £5 t-shirt and look absolutely amazing in that simply if your body looks good. Your body speaks volumes about how you look at the end of the day. Now, with that said, the main point that I'm trying to drive across here is the insecurity aspect. Insecurity is just the first layer of the onion that we peeled. But if we take it one layer deeper, what is that insecurity causing you in your day-to-day life? Like, just being insecure stops you from achieving so much as a man. Like, how would you perform if you took that weight of being insecure away from yourself? How would you perform in your business? How would you perform in terms of your relationships? How would you look every day in the morning if you simply just looked in the mirror and you didn't bear that responsibility of, I just look pathetic and weak as a man? It's not insecurity within itself that is the problem. It's what does that insecurity leak into other aspects of your life? And I'll tell you firsthand, once you do lose the weight and once you do finally get into shape, it's something I can't even put into words. Now, the second thing is we're going to be pivoting away from that and going to an Islamic perspective. Now, from an Islamic perspective, being fat is completely unacceptable. It is not acceptable whatsoever for a Muslim to have a big belly. And I want to mention a story at the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. And by the way, Umar radiallahu anhu was the 3rd best man to walk the face of this earth from this ummah. The first is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second is Abu Bakr. And after Abu Bakr, it's Umar radiallahu anhu. So the words that he says carries a lot of weight at the end of the day. But let me tell you the story. There was a man walking and he had a big belly. He had a fat belly. He had a lot of body fat on him. And Umar radiallahu anhu asked this man, what is this? And the man was like, this belly, it's a gift from Allah. Now Umar radiallahu anhu was like, no, it's not a gift from Allah. Rather, it's a curse from Allah. Now, what we can take away from this is it's not acceptable as a Muslim to be fat. Allah's given you this body at the end of the day. So you better honor it, because you're going to be asked about every blessing that you have on the Day of Judgment. Allah, He says in the Quran, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. On the day you will be asked about all of your blessings. And one of the biggest blessings that people waste, and the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this in the hadith as well, the two blessings that people waste. Number one is health, and number two is free time. But going back to health, if you're throwing your body where you're fueling your body with the worst type of fuel, how can you stand before Allah on the Day of Judgment? When He asks you, how did you take care of this gift, this amana that I gave you? How did you take care of it? What are you going to say? Oh, I couldn't be bothered to take care of it. I just wanted to sit on the couch and eat chips all day. Is that really what you're going to say? But yeah, in a nutshell, Islamically, it's unacceptable to be fat. Completely unacceptable. And I don't mean to say this in a rude way or anything, but even Islamic scholars, like, who are you going to take more seriously? And I do not mean this with any disrespect whatsoever. Everyone knows a fat imam or a fat scholar. Does anybody actually take that person seriously? I'm not saying this is how it should be. I'm just stating the facts. Do fat people even get taken seriously in society? It's something we got to ask ourselves. These are the difficult conversations we have to have, because ultimately, if these difficult conversations do not arise, nobody's going to take action. But yeah, that's the second thing. Islamically, it is unacceptable. Now, the third horrifying outcome, this is where it does start to get very scary, is health. At the end of the day, your health is going to be compromised. A lot of you guys watching this will be South Asian, and you try to cope behind the fact of, oh, it's in our genetics that we are going to have diabetes. Like, I'm South Asian myself, and I can probably count on all of my hands and probably my feet as well how many people that I know in my family, distant and close family, who have diabetes. But who said it was a genetic thing at the end of the day? Of course, genetics play a part in issues like diabetes and heart disease and that stuff. But if we look at the people who have diabetes and heart disease, 95% of them are fat at the end of the day. Do you guys not see the correlation? If you're fat and you're out of shape, you're going to have health complications. And for so many of you, the problem is it takes you a health scare to wake up. But you've seen tens and tens and tens and maybe hundreds of people who have had these health complications. Why do you not let this be a lesson to yourself before it happens to you? Because if they did the actions that caused them to get to that level, which caused them to have heart disease and diabetes, all of these things, and you're doing the same action as all of them, what do you think is going to happen? You're probably going to have the same outcome as them. So you should probably start taking some action before it does happen to you in the first place. But I did pull up some statistics that I wrote down. When it comes to people having cancer, you have an up to 50% chance of an increased likelihood in getting cancer, depending on the type of cancer, because every cancer is different at the end of the day. But your chances of getting cancer can be up by 50% above what you already have just by being fat and overweight. Imagine who that's going to affect. It's not just going to affect you. It's going to affect your wife. It's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect your parents. This is when, as men, we need to start looking at the bigger picture and stop being selfish, because fat loss is not about you. It's partly about you, but it encompasses so many different things. Imagine your children crying at your death just because you couldn't be bothered to lose some weight, just because you had the arrogance to not ask for help. Imagine how your kids would feel. These are the things that you have to think about, because this is what's going to cause you to take action. Now, the second statistic that I wrote down here as well, this one's crazy, by the way. It's worse than the cancer thing. You are 2 to 3 times more likely to get heart disease from being overweight compared to someone who's not. 2 to 3 times higher. If that doesn't want you to take action and do something about your problem of being fat and overweight, then I don't know what will. Anyways, moving on to the fourth point. This is when we talk about relationships. Divorce. Divorce is something that is extremely high in society, especially in the Muslim community. I don't want to throw out any random stats, but I think you guys can research this, but I think divorce stats in the Muslim community are around 50%. Out of all the marriages that take place in the Muslim community, 50% of them end in divorce. Now, I'm not here to say that being fat causes every single divorce. There's many problems. There's financial problems, there's sexual problems, there are problems with upbringing, there's problems with compatibility. It's not just being fat. I'm not here to exaggerate things. But with that said, look at the world today. We live in an extremely hypersexualized society. For both men and women, extremely hypersexualized. So the only place that you can fulfill your sexual needs in a halal way is with your spouse. But if you as a spouse do not look good for your partner, how would your sex life be where you want it to be at the end of the day? This is something that people need to take accountability in, because a lot of marriages end just because a partner stops taking care of themselves and they become unattractive to the other person. Like so many of you guys watching this who are married, you probably went on a journey to get in the best shape of your life for when you got married. Now, what's the point of that if you don't maintain it throughout your marriage? Now, I'm someone who was guilty of this. Like when I got married, I was in the best shape of my life. I'll put a picture on the screen right here. I was in really good shape. But after that, I kind of let myself go. But I used it as a wake-up call. Like a couple months into marriage, I got a little bit fat, I got a little bit fluffy, but I was like, enough is enough. I woke up and I realized that me being out of shape was not acceptable, and I decided to lose the weight and get back in shape again. Alhamdulillah, I did. And with that said, I can tell you one thing for sure: women will not tell you as a man that you're letting go of yourself. They will not tell you that. Like even my wife, I'm gonna expose myself a little bit here. When I got out of shape a little, my wife was like, you know, I like you the way you are and everything. And then after I got in shape again, she told me that you're way more attractive now. But women will never tell you, but you as a man have to take accountability of the fact that you're out of shape, because no one else is going to tell you and no one else is going to do the work for you. That's the first thing. And also, if we look into a scientific perspective, people who are overweight have more issues when it comes to sexual performance as well. Your libido will be lower and you have a way higher chance of suffering with things like erectile dysfunction. If I'm not mistaken, it's another stat that I kind of am pulling through the back of my head, but I think there was a stat, it was 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 men suffer with some type of erectile dysfunction. But yeah, if you want to be that guy who can't get it up, then continue doing so, but just understand that you're playing with fire at the end of the day. And the last but definitely not least scary outcome of being out of shape and fat and overweight and obese is the financial aspect. Whether we like it or not, we're driven by money at the end of the day. Allah, He says in the Quran in Surah Ali Imran, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنطَرَةِ مِنَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ وَالْخَيْلِ الْمُسَوَّمَةِ وَالْأَنْعَامِ وَالْحَرْثِ. In this verse, Allah is mentioning all the things that are beloved to mankind, like women and wealth. And one of the things Allah mentions is wealth at the end of the day. So this should motivate you. But a stat that I researched is people who are fat, overweight, obese, out of shape can expect to spend up to an extra $4,000 per year per person in health costs just from being out of shape. And this may not even encompass the long-term effects. Like when you do get that heart disease and cancer, you best believe that treatment is going to be very, very, very expensive. But just from being fat, overweight, out of shape, you can expect to pay a lot of money in healthcare per year. If you're fat and out of shape, unfortunately, the apple does not fall very far from the tree. Your children are probably going to be out of shape as well, and you're going to have to pay their health costs as well. And the other statistic as well, this one's probably going to scare the hell out of the entrepreneurs here, but people who are fat and out of shape, this is for people who are working jobs, by the way. So in entrepreneurship, it's going to be a lot more, but this is more for people working in jobs. People who are fat and out of shape make up to 10 to 20% less income per year, and that's a fixed salary job. So if your income is dependent on your performance at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you are going to be making way, way, way less money if you're out of shape. So yeah, those are 5 reasons that you should probably, do something about it and get into shape. And with that said, hopefully at least 1 or 2 of the points that I mentioned resonated with you. And at the end of the day, I don't want this video to be something where it just goes through one ear and out the other. Like, I genuinely care about you guys. I made it my mission to start helping Muslims all over the world get in the best shape of their life, lose the weight, and start being healthy so they can be present for their families, so they can grow their businesses, so they can be happy at the end of the day, and they can fulfill the amana that Allah has given them at the end of the day. I don't mean this video with any hate, by the way. I genuinely mention these things from a place of care because I've been that person. I've been the person who was insecure. I've been the person who was unhealthy. I've been the person who was, not fulfilling the amana that Allah gave me. I've been the person who was out of shape in my marriage. And with that said, I didn't feel good with those things. And I don't want anyone behind the screen, like the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, love for your brother what you love for yourself. And I mention this because I genuinely love you guys. And I want you guys to be able to experience life the way that I get to experience life, being, at the top 1% in health and being at the top 1% in terms of my physique and my performance. I want you guys to experience that. But ultimately, if there is no compelling factor that causes you guys to do it at the end of the day, nothing's going to change, because if nothing changes, right? But yeah, I hope you guys can take away some inspiration from that. And yeah, if you enjoyed that video and you took some benefit from it, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to take it one step further, send this to a fat friend. And with that said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.